All right, today we're talking about how to get found in AI search engines. My guest today had to recover from his hometown burning down, a divorce, and a global pandemic, all within a couple years of happening at the same time. He recovered, and he's here to tell the story about it. I'll tell you more about him in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show, and you know every week we have smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies and organizations. We've had Netflix, Grubhub, Redfin, Gusto, Kinko's, EO, YPO, Activation Blizzard. Go check out those episodes in the archives. And of course, this episode is brought to you by Rise25, where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. We do three things, which are the strategy, accountability, and full execution. And we even built a platform that is being called the Wix of B2B podcasting. It's Podcast Copilot. So if you want to learn more about that, go to our website, rise25.com, or you can email our team at support@rise25.com. All right, my guest today is Josh Hanosh. He is the co-founder and vice president of 329. It's a Sacramento-based digital marketing and web development agency. They help B2B companies to get results through data-driven websites, SEO, AEO, or GEO. They're using different terms for it now. Answer engine optimization, basically pay-per-click branding and marketing strategy. And he has over 15 years of experience in the field working with a wide range of companies, especially with construction companies and law firms. So we're going to talk about that as well. And as I previewed in the beginning, he had a couple of years of some major setbacks and is here to tell the story about it. So Josh, I'm really excited to have you here today. And let's start with what you were like as a kid. I always like to know what people were like. And there's definitely two sides to you, because you were a teacher for many years, and you also have this business side to you. You actually grew up in a family that had a bunch of entrepreneurs, but graduated in 2008, which everyone knows what was happening then, not a lot of jobs. And so went into teaching for a lot of years before finding your way to entrepreneurship. So, but what was young Josh like? You know, you going around, you had a lawn care business, actually.
I did. So I was the only child, and before the lawn care business, which was in like early college, I would actually help my dad with his dental practice. And he would always want to come up with like a new logo or, you know, a marketing plan. And I loved doing that. I was a visionary as a kid, and I didn't even know what that meant at the time. And I realized it later when, you know, you take those personality tests and you realize like your strengths. And I've always been, you know, thinking of all these different ideas. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs can probably relate to this, where we don't work well as employees. Like, we want to be the ones calling the shots and making the decisions and enjoying the success and also the failure,
The highs and lows.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I had a lawn care, yard care company for maybe like 9 months before I got married, to basically pay for the honeymoon and the ring. And I tutored in college, and I did a couple other things like, you know, we were talking about all my family's from New Mexico, and in New Mexico, they have a dessert called sopapillas, which are these amazing, just these like pillows of dough that they fry, and then you tear one corner.
Can't go wrong with fried dough in any form or fashion.
No. When you tear a corner off and you put honey inside of it.
Oh, geez.
It's so good. So
that sounds amazing.
Sold those for a little bit. And
how did you sell them? Where did you sell them?
I mean, I did it illegally. You know, I cooked it in my house and then sold it to like my dad's patients or dad's employees or whoever I could get.
Okay. Yeah.
$5 for a sopapilla order.
That's great. That's great. So you graduate from UC Davis, go Aggies, and into a horrible job market. So you find the safest thing you can find, which is teaching, and you do that for a little while.
Yep.
Before finding your way to kind of digital marketing. How'd you get into starting a digital marketing firm? I think it was the animal sanctuary that you started that was the impetus for it, right? So you started an animal sanctuary around 2014.
Yeah. So my ex-wife and I started a farm animal sanctuary. We bought 5 acres up in Colfax, and we had up to at our height, we had like 90 plus animals there.
And what inspired that? Were you just passionate about saving farm animals?
Yeah, I mean that's episode two, but I've been vegan for 10 years,
Mm,
and once you start learning about where your food comes from, at
yeah,
least I just couldn't enjoy it anymore. I
yeah,
love bacon cheeseburgers, I love steaks, but once I realized how that got on my plate, I just couldn't enjoy it. So
yeah.
that's kind of what started the farm animal sanctuary. Plus, we wanted to give back. I mean, what's the point if you're not contributing back and like helping others? And at the time we were teaching, so we worked with a lot of foster youth, and so we had programs for youth to come up and do therapy with the animals, and we had some really cool like reading programs to get kids excited about reading at the sanctuary. So
Like
that
reading to animals type of thing.
yeah, because California state prisons, they figure out their bed count by looking at third grade reading levels. And so if you can get kids reading, obviously by the time they're in third grade, then they're going to have a huge leg up on everyone else that obviously like didn't grow up with the ability to access books or like fall in love with reading. And at the sanctuary, well, let me back up. The research that we were reading at the time, which is still valid today, basically said you don't care about kids' reading proficiency. You just want them to like reading. And the best way to do that is to not bother them while they're reading. So no humans are involved. So kids would actually come check out a book from like the lending library and go read to an animal at the sanctuary.
Huh.
Uh, and when they're super young, you don't care. Like I said, that you don't care about their proficiency. You're just wanting
Yeah,
them to fall in love with
practice.
reading,
Yeah.
and then you can start critiquing them and working with them on their pronunciation.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we had to learn about web design, SEO, social media marketing, Google Ads early on, so that we could get donors to help us because we were funding the sanctuary ourselves for like about the
Mm,
first 3 years. I didn't know that I would be using that knowledge in a later career.
mm,
I started coding my own websites just for fun because I taught computer science and math at the time.
mm.
Huge nerd. Um, and I will never forget this. At the end of one of my classes, I would always talk to my computer science kids about why they should go into computer science. And everyone was always like, oh, it's the money. Like, you're going to make a ton of money. And I was like, that's actually not the main reason why I would want to go into it. I told them how cool it'd be that you could travel the world, be anywhere you want. And as long as you're getting your projects done, no one cared. Like, you could just get your projects done, be in Germany or in France or wherever, and go have an adventure. And this one girl came up to me after class. It was in my very last class before Christmas break. And she was like, Mr. Hanish, why are you here teaching us? Why aren't you doing that?
Mm.
I was like,
That's what I was thinking too, by the way. I was thinking like, well, he's kind of nailed down. He's got a farm animal sanctuary. He's got to
yeah,
take care of 90 animals and he's teaching. So it's almost like there's a bit of a yearning in that advice.
yeah. And I was like, that's a great point. I don't know. And
Mm.
I came back home and I told my wife at the time, at the end of this year, I'm going to quit and I'm going to be like a freelance web designer. And I did that, and it snowballed into this agency that grew to a team of 12. And it's been great. I love what I do. I love our team, and I'm so glad that I still get to teach, which we can get into later. But I still get to teach, which I love. That's my favorite part of my job.
So educating, teaching people about different strategies. But you had a tough run there before we even get to some of the major setbacks, your hometown burning down and things like that. But I mean, it sounded like a tough life for a period of time there where you're teaching every day, you're getting up early in the morning, you're taking care of the farm animals. And that just sounds really like a lot on your plate.
It's a lot. I mean, we didn't have kids, so I know that being a parent is also a lot. Where you're up at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Um, it was the same. Our kids were the farm animals. And, if we had a sick animal or babies, we were up early or late. And yeah, I don't know, you just do what you have to do. I think all of
Yeah.
us probably look back at periods of our life and be like, I don't know how I got through that. I don't know if I could do that now, but I did, and here I am, and I'm better for it.
And it looks like February 2018, according to your LinkedIn, is when Dedicated Designs created. And that was the same year that so you grew up in Paradise, which is outside of Chico in Northern California, which burned to the ground in 2018. I don't remember what month it was in 2018. When
November.
was it?
November.
So you start the business, and 6 months later, your hometown burns down, your parents' house burned down, your family members' house burned down. What was that like for you?
My first memory of that fire was talking to my parents in the morning and seeing, we're in Colfax, so we're kind of not quite
Sounds,
level with Chico, but
yeah.
like the smoke from Paradise was blowing over the valley, and I could see it off of our back deck, and I
Mm,
just was like, "That's my hometown!" Like
mm,
blowing by in the wind, like as ash. And so my parents made it out very like luckily. And
mm,
then I was there the next day, and my parents had a fifth wheel at the time. And so they were living in that, and they lived in that for probably like a month before they
mm,
could find a rental house. And my mom, I remember I left after I, made sure they were okay and like said hi and goodbye. And she's like, "Hey, can you take these boxes with you? We don't have room for them." And I was like, "Sure." And so I put it in the back of my car, drove home, and I just realized this is all my parents' belongings. Like this is it. Like
mm.
all of the photo albums, anything my mom could grab at the last minute, which she wasn't able to grab a lot of things. This is it. Like, and I just remember like feeling like extra protective and like wanting to drive extra safe home
Hmm.
because literally that is all my parents had. I mean, they didn't even have clothes. Like they had to go
Mm.
to Kohl's the next day and like get all new clothes because
Wow.
they couldn't make it out with anything else.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So you have that experience and you are freelancing, and then 2 years later, COVID hits, and you also go through a divorce in this not too much longer after that.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of like one hit after another, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, COVID was rough. The Friday that lockdown was announced, I hired my first two employees,
Hmm.
and I was like,
Is
oh,
this a mistake?
yeah, exactly. And luckily, the pandemic was good for us just because people needed to get online, they needed to run social media ads, they needed ordering systems. So we were able to ride that out fairly well. And then, yeah, I mean, the divorce is kind of a long time coming. I mean, it was something that, my ex wife and I, we were, working on our marriage for about 5 years before we separated. And it just was one of those things where we just wanted different things. And
Yeah.
luckily we still keep in touch and we're still friends and we have a good relationship. We don't see each other a ton, but yeah, it worked out and it was difficult, but it also was, for the best.
And so you go from working at the animal sanctuary to focusing more on the digital agencies. And about a little over a year ago now, you decided to merge with another agency. So tell me a little bit about what the philosophy was around that, why you made that decision.
Yeah. So my current business partner, Kevin Howe, he lives in Florida. He and I were friends for probably 4 years before the merger. I knew him from EO. We had one of my very best friends is also one of his really good friends, and he connected us. And Kevin, he's been in the agency world since he was 20 years old. He went to school to be a graphic designer, has a way, like just a ton more experience than me. My agency, Dedicated Designs, was very much marketing first and web second. We did like brochure websites, but not really anything complex. Kevin was the opposite. His development chops were first class. They were building custom apps, custom websites, custom integrations into like CRMs and ERPs. And we would refer a ton of work to each other. And one day I just told Kevin, I was like, what if we just merged? I feel like, we're doing a lot of business together anyways. At the very least, we could save money by like cutting costs. And we looked at the numbers and they made sense. And so we did like a soft merger just internally with our teams in August of 2024. And then it became legal on January 1 of 2025. And it's been a year. And It's been awesome. I mean, it's been really difficult. I likened it to the sanctuary. I think, we didn't know what we were getting into with the sanctuary. Had someone told us how hard it was going to be, I don't know if I would have done it. Same with the merger. I thought it went smoothly, but so many things had to be
A
handled,
lot of
and it
details. Yeah.
was a lot. And we have an amazing team that helped us get through it. And now we are a much stronger entity because of it. And I think that shows in, what we're doing right now with GEO and helping clients in this next evolution of digital marketing.
And I love to ask people about what it was like when COVID hit, like what their experience was like. Similarly, for those who were aware of it at the time, I'm curious to ask people about what your experience was like when ChatGPT came out. So, do you recall that what the experience was like when your first experiences of it?
Yeah. So I actually used an AI before ChatGPT. It was this app. It was not good. But I remember like you could do test prep with it. Like you would like feed it information and it would like make note cards for you.
Okay.
And it was at this growth factory that I was helping out with in Roseville. And I mean, ChatGPT came out in November 22. And at first it was just, kind of like almost like I thought of it as just like a party trick, like a
Yeah.
fun, like,
Right.
just
Oh,
so
that's cool.
exactly. And, that's right around when zero click SEO was really on the scenes. People were freaking out because they weren't getting as much web traffic because people were stopping at Google because they could get phone numbers and addresses and leave reviews and see reviews and make
Yeah.
orders on Google. And people were like, what do we do? Like, how do we handle this? And it hit me that, I don't know, probably in, only maybe probably took me like 2 years. So 2024 was when I realized like, oh, like AI is getting to the point where it's like it's changing buyer behavior. Like
Hmm.
it is, I have a talk about this, how like technology enables us to DIY more and more and more. So like back in the 90s, there was the yellow pages. And if
Yeah.
you were professional, then you went to the yellow pages and the biggest ad or the company that was named like AAA
Right.
insurance were like got the most business.
Right.
And then,
Not
Google,
because of actual reviews, not because of actual quality or any kind of buyer signals that indicate that they were actually good.
right. And people relied on other people for that information. It's like, oh, have you worked with AAA auto insurance? Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
have. They're
Yeah.
really, or no, they're really bad. And there was so much gatekeeping. If you were going through a divorce or you were wanting to start a company, you were kind of starting at like level zero, talking to the attorney, and you didn't really know anything unless you talked to friends who had done it before you. And they're kind of like doing the whole thing. They're walking you through the whole thing, and you're kind of lost in the beginning. Then Google organized the internet in 98, and the level of DIY was exponentially increased because now we could research ourselves, kind of get a handle on how this is going to work before we start talking to a professional. And then we have all these websites that we can go through, and businesses started realizing that if they put information on these websites, it was actually not taking away business, but increasing business because it proved that they could do what they say that they could do. And people trusted them because they were kind of giving away some of their secret sauce. And then it just kept accelerating. Technology, like I said, allows us to DIY more and more of our lives. So then you have social media and YouTube coming out in like 2004. And now we're learning in these videos, and it's giving us even more information. And we're reaching out to professionals with more information and not starting at square zero anymore. But we're still needing them. And then phones, Apple comes out with the iPhone in 2007. And now we have this information at our fingertips, and the DIY just keeps going up and up. So now you get to AI. And the DIY is off the charts because now we have a personal research assistant. You go into ChatGPT and you're like, hey, I need to form an S corp. What attorney do you recommend that I work with? Please give me a short list of like 5 attorneys to work with, and it recommends 5 attorneys. And people trust AI as if it was the 90s again, and they're talking to their next door neighbor about who they used. They trust AI on that same level, for better or worse. And I'm not saying they should trust AI. I'm just saying that they do. And fortunately or unfortunately, the businesses that are being shown are the ones that are getting that business.
Yeah.
And no more clicking through 10 blue links on Google. You just ask AI and it gives you what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. And so it's people say kind of like the bottom of the funnel is collapsing, or the top of the funnel rather is collapsing. And so people, might spend all the time researching on ChatGPT and then go straight to contacting a company. They maybe don't even poke around their website that much because they don't need to at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. All the analytics that we're seeing show that AI traffic, so traffic that comes from Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, converts 3 times as often as organic traffic.
Mm,
Organic traffic still, like by far, way more than AI traffic. And traditional search, in my opinion, is still going to be around for probably 2 to 3 years. But whether we like it or not, because we've experienced this, all of us have experienced this using Google, we are being pushed into AI results.
yeah.
Whether you start in Gemini or you start on traditional search, you usually end up in an AI search result.
Yeah,
And
if you think about it, I guess Google could just flip a switch and it could switch from there aren't even any blue links down below. It just transforms into, and it's kind of starting to do that already, where the AI summary is just the entire answer to depending on what question that you
yeah,
ask. And I think that their technology is doing that depending on like if you ask, what's the Shakey's Pizza Parlor's phone number in East Sac, and then like it's going to give you that. But if you ask how do I make a pizza that's the same as the Hawaiian pizza from Quiznos or whatever, some place, right?
yeah,
Then it'll give you a different kind of answer.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I think that there's also problems around ads. So like how do you monetize AI search results? And I think that there's ways that they're going to start doing that and kind of have already.
Yeah, and ChatGPT just announced that, just announced ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's interesting because, you know, there's so many companies that still haven't even like fully embraced social media and they're way behind. And then you think about, okay, well, SEO is, obviously older, and then GEO is new, and you're still designing websites with a visual element. And I think something that people aren't fully realizing or talking about is like in 3 to 5 years, the visual side of a website isn't really going to be necessary or important because we're all going to have our own agent that's going to go do things for us. We're going to ask it, hey, go book me a restaurant, go book
Right.
a reservation at this restaurant. It's not going to care how pretty your website is. It's going to
Yeah.
care how clear the signals are, how easy you can get the answer, how easy it can like make a reservation.
Right. I
So
think that's what a lot of us don't appreciate is like we'll look at like a pretty website, be like, oh, it's beautiful. I want my website like this. But it might be a mess on the back end. And those are two different things, like how pretty it is on the front end, how it is on the back end. And understanding how they're organized on the back end is so important. I didn't appreciate that for many years.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, so my business partner has this saying. He basically just says like, pretty is not your problem. Having a pretty website is not going to convert more people.
Mm,
Having a clear website. So, our biggest thing that we talk to our clients about is like, if we're working with if we're working with like a divorce attorney, let's say, the last thing we're going to say on the homepage at the top is we do divorce. Like you're not going to, that is the worst use of that real estate because people already know what you do because they're on your website. So you need to tell them, well, how are you different than the other 14 divorce attorneys that they're currently looking at? And the same goes for ChatGPT. You have to tell ChatGPT why you should be the one that it recommends and not just say that, oh, well, I'm a divorce attorney.
hmm
And also people go to websites and agents are the same way. They self-identify. So many websites have just services. So like one of our clients, they produce wheels and tires for agriculture and like fleets of like semi trucks. And their old website was like their services were wheels, tires, axles. And we realized that people that go to their website first self-identify within their industry. So they want to know, I'm a farmer. What services do you have for farmers?
Mm.
not I'm going to go to your wheel services and then figure out if you work with farmers.
Yeah.
So it's also how you lay out your website. If you can lay it out by industry first with your target like ICP, and then dive into like deeper content, that's just a better way to lay out the website. Kind of giving you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It's amazing how many businesses out there just like do a very simple website. They have like an index page that has all their services on there and they call it a day, you
right,
know,
yeah,
versus like what differentiates, the successful businesses are ones that they create a lot more pages to explain what they do in the language of the buyer. And I was looking at a website earlier today that was a VA service in the construction industry, and they must have had 50 different pages, probably 100 different pages. They were describing the different type of VA that they could create, like a payroll VA, project manager VA, executive assistant VA. It was slightly different, but that there are people out there that are thinking in their head, like, I need a payroll VA. And they're not searching for a general construction VA. They're searching for a payroll VA. So
right,
they're very specific about it. And so having a page like that on your website is going to get more people coming to you for that service.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a ton I could go on that, but one thing that I am really excited about. So SEO has been around for obviously like 2.5 decades, and there's so many analytics that GA, SEMrush, like all these tools that you can
Yeah.
use, keep track of how you're doing and where you should go. There's nothing right now for GEO, which for people that are listening is generative engine optimization.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems is that there's no agreed upon language yet. So it's some people call it AEO, some people call it GEO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we switched to GEO because, and this is part of the content side of GEO. We actually looked at the keywords that are ranking, and there's way more volume for
I've
GEO
heard
than
that. I've heard that. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and so really good GEO is great SEO because
Mm.
good GEO incorporates the questions that you're asking AI plus the keywords. The converse is not true. Really good SEO is not good GEO. For a lot of different reasons that we might have time to get into. But because of the lack of analytical tools, we created our own. So we bring in third party data that we then assimilate in our program. It's called Site AI, and it allows us to show our clients in real time bot traffic. And there's three types of bots. There's citation bot, which is the gold. That means a bot came to your website and is grabbing a piece of information from your site and citing it in an answer to a prompt. There's learning bots. And what's cool about learning bots, if you look at a month graph, you will see like 2 or 3 days in a month where these huge spikes of bot traffic come to your site and then drop off. And it's the bots learning and updating the LLM. And then there's just straight indexing bots, which are like the normal like Google bots. But then we can reverse engineer. So we can have our clients, we can show them, okay, you've had 20 bots come to your site yesterday. And we can actually show them, here's what the person typed into ChatGPT that sent that bot to your site. So then we can compare and contrast. It's like, well, do we want to be ranking for this prompt? No, yes. Okay. If yes, like how, like we break things down into questions, like question clusters. So that's how we go about writing content rather than looking at keywords. And what's interesting about AI, so there was a research study done, I think it was done by Cambridge. They looked at OpenAI data and Gemini, and they realized that ChatGPT on average cites websites that are ranked 231st. And
Mm.
Gemini averages sites that are ranked in like the 3000s.
Oh, wow.
What that means is these bots, these AI companies know that the first page on Google is a game. It doesn't, if you're ranking first on Google, that doesn't mean you're the best company or that you know the most out of anyone else. It just
Means
means,
you mastered the game.
yeah,
Yeah. Right.
you're great at SEO.
Yeah. But there may be great information that's found on all kinds of websites that don't show up on the first page of Google.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is really cool for small companies because there's a lot of small companies, a lot of founders that have a ton of information. And this new shift kind of opens the door again,
Mm.
these experts being found because AI cuts through all the BS.
Well, I guess that answers the question I was going to ask, which is I was talking to someone yesterday who said, I'm not sure if websites are going to be around in a couple of years. And I said, no, I think they are. I don't think they're going away. Actually, I think in some ways they've become more important. I actually think maybe like a year ago, some people were thinking, oh no, like our website's going to be meaningless. But I do think that some of the adages have swung around and they realize, oh, if you actually use your website as your digital home for the web and really write for the AI engines, then you can educate the AI engines, and people might not land on your website until they're getting to the contact form, but they might read it. They just read it somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is more true than any other time in web development, but there are truly two internets, I would say, or two websites, I guess, where you build a website for the human to make it look pretty and fun. And there's a lot of JavaScript that's involved in that to make the animations happen. And then on the backside, you have all this schema and structured data where you're just taking the visual side and just throwing it into like robot language, basically. And you need both right now because there's still people that need websites, but then the robots don't care about the visual side and they just want the information. And if you have if you have a really flashy website with a lot of JavaScript, any text that's within JavaScript, like if you've got a FAQ box that you click on the question and like the answer drops down, bots can't see the text in there because they don't get through JavaScript. So that's why you need like an FAQ schema so that you have that information for the bots. But yeah, websites are not going away. If anything, they're going to be stripped down more, and it's all going to be about expertise and documentation, like giving the AI everything it needs so that it can help its user point to you when it thinks that you're the expert that can help.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think people were afraid for a little bit that, oh, maybe I should hold off on content creation. Now I think actually the important thing is to put on the gas, but be deliberate about it and think through what your approach is, do keyword research, that sort of thing. Any final thoughts for people, Josh, before we wrap things up? Any other suggestions for people who want to get found in the AI search engines?
Yeah, I think PR is having a renaissance. I think PR was kind of on the downtrend for a little bit, but AI wants to know that other domains trust you and that if you can get a backlink, even if it's paid for, on like a local, it depends what your business is, but like on a local, like for us, Sacramento Business Journal is a good like resource. Even nationally, if you get an article on like Forbes.com or wherever, that is going to be gold because AI knows like if you're on Forbes.com, you've got to be pretty reputable and they'll cite you more often.
Yeah. Good advice. Josh, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about you and 329?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on LinkedIn, just Josh Hanosh, or look up my newsletter called CMO Mindset, or go to 329.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.